Yes, guys, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. This is FPL Insight. I'm Gianni Buttice, the FPL guy, and I'm joined by Football Insider Dean Jones. Dean, how are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, Football Insider, not FPL expert, it turns out, based on recent form for sure. A really interesting weekend. Some mad results, some mad performances, and a bad performance by most of the people I brought into my team. Got to dig out one of the listeners, actually, one of the viewers. FPL River. I followed your advice. I brought in Rafinha. Hasn't delivered. Has not delivered yet. So, while I'm slightly annoyed, it was a great shout, and I decided it was right to get him in the team instead of Bowen. It did look fine going into the weekend, and it still might be. But yeah, look, generally, my team's underperformed so far, but we have still got a few games left that could rescue me. But look, maybe I had a better weekend than Man United, so that can be said for me, I think.
Surprising with that United 11, wasn't it? I mean, we heard the rumours the night before and saw Rashford and Ronaldo and Cavani might not make the squad, but Rashford in the 11 was something we just thought we were going to see. And when you see Elanga being picked ahead of you, that's got to be tough.
No, it's bad for his confidence, and it's bad for morale. I think Marcus Rashford is now seriously considering his future at Man United. I know there's a couple of clubs already interested in Marcus Rashford. Newcastle, one of them. Arsenal, another. Just keeping an eye on the situation. Look, he's genuinely frustrated by this. Like, how can he not be? When you see midfielders starting in your position for such a big game, you're going to be demoralised. You're going to be frustrated. And it is looking like Marcus Rashford's days at Man United might be numbered because, look, Rangnick is choosing the next Man United manager. Yeah. If he chooses Ten Hag, which is very likely at this stage, Ten Hag's going to have words of advice from Rangnick. He's going to say, well, what's it been like in the squad? Who do I trust? He's not going to be telling him to trust Rashford, is he? So it's big shame for Rashford. Look, I hope he gets opportunities before the end of the season to win people over, to win Rangnick over. He's obviously a very good guy, Rashford. He's done some great things inside and outside of football. And hopefully things turn around for him.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see that appointment in the summer. If it is Ten Hag, then I might be bringing Donny van der Beek back into my FPL team at some point. Who knows?
It's looking like Ten Hag, yeah, so we'll see.
Kazi, how are you doing, mate? Yeah, I'm good. I mean, you're going to see my team very shortly, Kazi, and as always, my mood is like reflective of my FPL game week so far, and I've had a good game week, so it's all smiles here. I'm looking forward to the game tonight as well, 8 p.m. kickoff, and we'll be done by that time, guys. So hopefully your pre-match build-up tonight can be listening to Dean and I, and then we'll be offline before that 8 p.m. kickoff, where hopefully we're going to see the Harry Kane show, Dean. He does start. It's the Tottenham 11 we probably thought was going to be. He's kept with Sessegnon. He's kept with Doherty, the two wing-backs. Bentancur comes in, though, because we weren't sure about his knock. If Winks and Højbjerg were going to be the midfield too. But Bentancur's looked really good. And, Kulusevski and other ones look great.
Yeah, they were keen to get Bentancur back as soon as possible. It's quicker than I thought, to be honest. I've got to say, I didn't think he'd be back as quick as this, but it was a big miss when he wasn't in that team. So him and Højbjerg, the engine room of this Tottenham side, and then just hoping that Doherty and Sessegnon can offer the outlets down the channels that they need, and Kulusevski and Son supply the magic for Harry Kane. Obviously, you've got Kane in your team. You're stuck with him. Could well pay off.
I hope so. Everton have got a big man up top who's returning as well. Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So we're going to see Richarlison one side, Anthony Gordon the other. The big thing from that lineup is Iwobi's been playing well. Damari Gray is now fit. And still, Anthony Gordon is picked on top of them. As an FPL asset, guys, 4.5 million on set pieces. Frank clearly has given him a lot of trust to be giving him the nod this time out. And every week he's been there.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the first things we pointed out on this show as we were assessing the situations. And Gordon is somebody that Lampard clearly trusts implicitly to carry out his instructions. He's been performing brilliantly. And this really is a sign of how much he rates him. So being very interesting to see how he does. Calvert-Lewin, I've got him on my bench this week, so he's bound to score. But But yeah, no Reguilon again. Must still be struggling to get back to top condition, I imagine, because I was told that that's what they were waiting for. Unless Sessegnon's done enough to just convince him that he deserves his spot for now.
Yeah, maybe so. Interesting to see. I hope Sessegnon gets a run in the team because we just know there's a player there. And we haven't seen it. We saw it at Fulham. We've seen it in an England under-21 shirt, but not quite for Spurs yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Guys, do be liking the channel if you can. There's loads of you watching. Thank you for joining this journey with us. If this is your first time watching, then every Monday at 7 p.m. UK time, every Friday at 7 p.m. UK time, we do these previews and review shows, 45 minutes, loads of cool features coming up in today's show. But do like and subscribe to the channel if you don't already. We want to get to 700 subscribers. We're not far off. And we also want to celebrate. We had 1,000 views for the first time on Friday's stream. So hopefully you are on this journey with us and be interactive. Ask questions. We'll get to as many as we can. You'll see them appear throughout the show.
Yeah.
It's been great having you, and it's good to see so many regulars like Luke and FPL River with us, as well as some new guys like Kazi in tonight as well.
Yeah, not bad for a baby channel. We're doing all right. Early days, but FPL River, you are forgiven. Don't worry. I appreciate it. It was a good call. Just looking for someone else to blame it on if it doesn't turn out. So I'm afraid you're the person that's getting the slack.
He had Rafinha had over 1.0 expected goals from that game. He really should have scored. Like to have 1.0 xG and not return, he's been unlucky. Guys, let's move on now. Dean's frozen, but he's going to come back into the picture very shortly. Let's move on to our teams because I'm very keen to show you the sort of points I had last time out. Here we go. Dean's back, and we've got your team on screen, Dean.
Yeah, sorry, lads, about that.
There's still loads to go, though. You've got, about 7 or 8 doublers. So it's not over yet, although captaincy wasn't brilliant for you. Salah came off at 74 minutes, I think it was.
Yeah, look, I mean, I was going to consider, so I wouldn't be that much better off so far anyway. Kilman, I consider, definitely wouldn't be much better off there either so far. So, yeah, a variation of combinations that wouldn't have worked. El Yanusi will be moved on very quickly out of this team soon, I can assure you of that. But yeah, look, I think I said the other day I was aiming for 80 points out of this lineup. I'm almost halfway there. Not as many players to play still. Yeah, disappointing. Digne caught me out, obviously. We didn't realise that he wasn't going to be playing. You managed to get him out just in time, I think, didn't you? But
got lucky.
Yeah, you got a good call there. But I'm still hopeful a couple of these guys can deliver for me big time, especially the 2 Chelsea lads. Dennis, I thought he had a goal against Arsenal. I really did. And yeah, these Southampton lads owe me too. So all hope is not lost, and those 80 points that I really want to get to this week are still in sight. Just
good. I mean, Dennis, you were 17 seconds in, thinking, yeah, he's absolutely nailed that.
I really did. I was like, finally, it's paid off. And I turned back around, and he wasn't celebrating anymore. I was like, oh. And then Arsenal went 1-0 up. I was like, oh. So that was that. That ended that, mate. That was about much fun as I had, wasn't it? About 17 seconds of that game. Brilliant.
I'm guessing the guys in the chat got some questions. Van Dijk or Robertson for Rudiger, says Bauer. Van Dijk or Robbo for Rudiger? I mean, Rudiger's obviously on a double game this week, but then he isn't 29 when Liverpool do have a double. So bringing in a separate Liverpool defender isn't a bad shout. I'm guessing Bauer's already got Trent. I just think Robbo for the upside is there. Van Dijk's got the aerial threat from set pieces and perhaps slightly goal threat. But Robertson is great in the bonus, great for assists. It'd be Robbo for me, Dean.
Yeah, I don't think I'd pick Van Dijk in fantasy, to be honest. I mean, he's a better footballer, but it doesn't really matter, does it? Rudiger, I'd probably go Robertson if you were going to do one of those. But an interesting one. People starting to talk about Reece James now, mate, and I guess that was when we move on to your team, your big call of the week, really, wasn't it? I mean, you were hot on this. We talked about it and anticipated Reece James's return, and I wasn't sure if you'd go with it straight away. But once you revealed your team, you were like, "Yeah, I'm going Reece James." So should we have a look at your team?
Yeah, go on then. Let me show you guys my. It won't be like this every week, I promise. Like it's just been a very, very good week. Like you don't usually get the transfers right, and certainly not if you're doing sort of 2 or 3 of them. And to get James and Havertz in, one of which you captained, it just all sort of fell into place. And then I had extras like Trent obviously delivered as he always seems to at the moment, and then Saka. hope I get some Kane points tonight as well, and it will just be the icing on the cake, really. Kilman's been a big disappointment, but I can deal with that. Cancelo nearly scored that bicycle kick. That would have been amazing, knowing so many have sold him. But yeah, it's been a good week. The big one, though, as you say, it's those Chelsea lads like Reece James. I went James over Rudiger. Rudiger was the safer pick, of course he was. But knowing James played like 75 minutes, I'm confident he starts against Norwich and then against Newcastle as well. So it's looking good.
Yeah, cheers, Luke, by the way. Look at this. Dean can't wait for this. Look at all those points. I'm very jealous looking at this team. Like halfway through a game week and you've already got more points than I was hoping for. So look, your team, we said it on the outset, was unreal, to be honest. You still have money in the bank. You've planned very well. You've lost a lot of sleep and it's paying off. But yeah,
my wife will tell you it wasn't worth it. I promise you that. Like here I am, like basking in the glory of it. My wife would tell you it's not worth the stress it causes him.
Okay, so in your 24-hour smile. Yeah, in your household you're not popular, but in FPL community you are, mate. So you're always welcome over here. Saka's finished, by the way. You must have been happy with that.
Yeah, so good. He got the assist so early, and then to get the goal straight after. You're like, this is big. He's so good. Got some questions coming in about Luca Dean. You'll notice I benched him. I was lucky there. I had a little tip saying he might not play, and I took the risk there and went for the 4-point hit to bring Havertz into my 11. But who knows if he'll play? We haven't seen training photos. My big thing, Nitesh, is I'm always following the club's Instagram or even just looking on their website or even on Twitter sometimes. If they post any training photos, I scroll through and I'm sure that's the back of Luca Dean's head. So just FPL Twitter will usually tell you if Luca Dean's fit or not. But got to wait and see for this one probably. Havertz captain masterstroke. KDB captain Mount. Mount might turn out to be a good captain in Nitesh. I mean, Dean's got Mount and Mount scored a hat-trick against Norwich last time. So I wouldn't write that one off.
Yeah, I'm hopeful Mount is going to return soon. Start giving us some points. Certainly out of Rudiger and Havertz, I was hopeful, but I did contemplate James. You were brave enough to actually do it, and to get 18 points is dream stuff, isn't it? And the run that Chelsea have got from here at the end of the season, he's going to be one of your main assets. He's going to be a big points getter, isn't he, from here on out?
He's just ridiculous, isn't he? He's the sort of player that just would look comfortable in any position on a football pitch. He's just ridiculously good. Yeah. FPL Rivers said about Luca Dean, hopes he doesn't play so he gets Martinelli. Oh, that would be nice. Martinelli took his goal so well. I'm thinking Martinelli for the double coming. The players I'm looking to target for game week 29 and 30 are Arsenal and Spurs because they're the only two teams that both double in 29 and then play in that blank in 30. So all for your transfers in this week, guys, like look at Spurs, look at Arsenal. Like I'd love to bring Kulusevski in this week, and my plan was to drop Havertz for Kulusevski, and it was just going to be a 1 week punt on Havertz. But if he scores against Norwich, I'm not going to be able to sell him. Like he's got Newcastle at home. But yeah, target your Arsenal, target your Spurs, and great shout FPL River having Martinelli in the squad because he's turned out to be a little bit of a differential, really. Martinelli, like everyone's gone Saka, but Martinelli's almost as good in terms of FPL.
Yeah, it was a tough one with Martinelli. I mean, I dumped him, didn't I? I had him, and then he had that red card, and I stuck with him for a week and didn't deliver, and then I've lost him, and of course he scores. So, but yeah, Martinelli obviously is a player that you kind of just got to ride the wave. If you're going to stick with him, then stick with him because he will eventually deliver. And in that Arsenal front four, if you like, at the moment, it seems like he's now a mainstay of it, doesn't he? I mean, Smith Rowe struggling to get a spot in there, and Pepe struggles to get a spot in there. But Martinelli, it seems like he's now a go-to guy. So, yeah, he's a good pick if you've got Martinelli.
Exactly that. Guys, coming up in the show today, we've got lots of cool features, including FPL Visa. We've got my eye test report. But before that, we're going to have a look at something which is titled Dean's Notebook. But before we do that, I just want to touch on you guys helping us to promote this because we love doing these live streams, and we and Nard thinking, do we do pre-records and upload them? And that would be way easier for our diaries. Of course it would be. But the reason we do live streams is because we want you guys in the chat because we love interacting and we love answering your questions. And if you ask a question, there's a very good chance we'll answer it. But to make sure we do these live streams and keep doing them, we could really do with your help by promoting the channel. So if you can tweet about it or just like and subscribe, but if you can tweet or Insta about this show, please do. That's really appreciated. But let's have a look at Dean's Notebook.
Yeah, so my notebook. So we got 3 players this week that we're going to look at, and it's guys that I guess have kind of got a news story behind them, or some interesting team news, or just some interesting stats, really. And the first guy I want to talk about is Alex Lacazette. Now, he's a guy that a lot of people talked about as being on his way out of Arsenal. I thought this would be his last season there. It was plenty of transfer speculation around him in January. But he's now likely to get a new deal. Even if Arsenal do sign a new striker, he is the perfect foil for the players around him in this setup. And yes, he hasn't been scoring many goals, but the way that he brings other players in has been superb. And he is notching up assists now as well. Like, he's got a nice record. He's got 5 assists in his last 4 games. He's notching up, not big points, but he's getting 5s. He got an 8 recently. And you look back at his record, Alex Lacazette, and he was made captain of this team back in December. And ever since he kind of got that armband and got that extra responsibility, he seems to have kind of shouldered it and taken it on. And he's playing much better, and he's regularly getting goals or assists. He's not a big scorer, but I think he's somebody just worth bearing in mind as we now enter such a crunch time of the season. Because apart from the Liverpool game, Arsenal have a pretty nice run until the end of the season. They've got so much motivation now to make the top 4. They've got a great chance of making it because they're actually in form. I think there's much more output to come from Alex Lacazette as we hit this stage of the season. I think he'll score a few goals, and I think that Arsenal have got more motivation than a lot of sides to actually end this season very well. So I think it's one to look out for.
Just looking at his points, I had no idea he was such a consistent performer. And as you say, like, his ceiling's quite low, but those 5 to 8 pointers trickle along quite nicely. In his last 4 games, he's returned in all 4, 5, 5, 5, 8, and only 3 goals, but 8 assists. He's also won pens, and I don't think Arsenal have had many pens this season.
Yeah, exactly what I was thinking.
They'll come with Saka and Martinelli in your team. They'll come.
So. Yeah, I was actually doubting myself because I was thinking, has somebody else taken over pens? Because why? But they haven't really been getting them, I guess. And that is the thing. You're right. Like, there's no way that Saka and Martinelli are not going to win a couple of pens from here to the end. And, there's always a chance of Lacazette as well that he's getting a brace or a hat-trick before the end of the season as well. So it is an interesting one that just cropped up on my radar over the weekend.
Yeah, no, I like it. His job in the team is to hold up play, to put others in, and we saw those assists at the weekend. Perfect at it. He's just a good number 9 with his back to goal. Those 5-yard assists work a dream.
Absolutely, yeah. Now, the second guy I want to talk about is the complete opposite of Lacazette, I'm afraid, and it's Romelu Lukaku. Now, going into the weekend, I put him in the likely lineup because I thought, if Lukaku doesn't get a start against Burnley, then that's it, isn't it? I mean, the only reason I could think he wouldn't start him is because he's a physical player and Burnley can deal with that a lot of the time. And I could see the intricacies of playing like a Havertz and a Mount and a Pulisic and just playing through the lines. But I think a lot more people than I thought captained Lukaku going into this game week. I saw quite a few. Look, if you've got Lukaku, it's probably going to be time to dump him. Look, I know they've got another game in this game week, and he might deliver there, but I just don't get the feeling, even if he does score in the next game, that he is the go-to guy at all anymore. And I think that Havertz has made himself undroppable in this lineup. Mm-hmm. The way that Tuchel wants to play, it just looks like he'd rather have those players around Havertz that are like Mount, Pulisic, maybe even Ziyech. There's a lot of those options. Lukaku just doesn't seem to fit. I'm a bit concerned about now, like, what Chelsea even do with him in the summer. It has to be serious doubt about whether he stays. And as somebody mentioned to me at the weekend, one of the big reasons Lukaku came back to Chelsea was because Abramovich drove the deal to get him back. Abramovich loves him, loved the idea of Lukaku coming back to Chelsea, proving everybody wrong, and thought it'd be worth every penny. Well, Abramovich ain't there anymore. Abramovich is leaving. And so that's his big supporter gone. And I think without that attachment, Tuchel will probably be happy to move on from him and go into the conversation to sign other forwards. So
is that Chelsea why he didn't come on though, Dean? Like, it's weird, isn't it? Like, as soon as Abramovich is out the door and Werner comes off the bench ahead of Lukaku, that was a weird one.
But it's strange. I mean, look, maybe Tuchel's holding out to play 90 in this next game. I don't really see that, though. I still think you would have brought Lukaku on in that game. Like, the game was won. It was a chance for him to get a goal and boost his confidence further. He just got a goal in the cup, right? But yeah, this comment there, like, Tuchel seems to have lost his trust with Lukaku. I think he has. I think ever since he came out with that interview, I think he has lost the trust and maybe even the respect of people in that dressing room. And the worst thing about it is that since that interview, he has not come back with the goals that he needed to win everybody over. And I'm not sure there are that many Chelsea fans either that would be that fussed to see Lukaku leave in the summer.
Yeah, I look at it. I'm very happy with Kai and the team. Like, there's a few comments about FPL River mentions Kai's better at false nine than Romelu Lukaku is at 9, but I'm not even sure Kai Havertz is playing false 9. Like, it's very easy to say a midfielder playing in the 9 role has to be a false 9, but you watch Havertz play and he's becoming very good in the box. Like two goals from inside, well, from 5 yards out at the weekend, good header and a tap in. But you look at it and think of his movement. He's pretty consistent in the penalty area. He's playing as an out-and-out striker. There's nothing false about Havertz's number 9 play. Whilst you might look at other number 9s, I don't know, Jota, and think it's more false 9, whatever. But with Kai, he looks like he's very comfortable as a 9, and we still don't know his best position, but maybe this is it.
This is it, exactly. I mean, look, there's still that conversation out there of like, Erling Haaland, where is he going to end up? And it looks like it's probably Man City, Barcelona, or Real Madrid. But if Chelsea are thinking of moving on from Lukaku, there's no way that there's not a part of them thinking, Erling Haaland, should we give it a go? Let's get involved in that conversation. They should be, they should be. Yeah. But like you say, maybe the reason they don't need to is because Kai Havertz is turning into the player that I always thought he could be. And I think Chelsea obviously did when they spent £72 million on him. And it's a player that has the potential to go on and win the Ballon d'Or. Like, we're moving into a new era now. Messi and Ronaldo, the baton's going to be passed on, and we're going to get different Ballon d'Or winners from now on. And Kai Havertz, for the last 2 years before he came into Chelsea, was emerging as a player with the raw ability that you're like, this guy can do anything he wants. And now that he's settled at Chelsea, we're starting to see that, and the Chelsea fans are starting to understand what they've bought.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was so excited when he arrived, and I didn't like the stick he was getting. And he's perfect for next season. If Lukaku does go, you maybe don't even need to buy. If you miss out on a Haaland, sure. Broja coming back into the squad really helps because you've got a good backup there, a kid that would happily start, I don't know, 5 to 10 Premier League games a season. He'd probably be okay with that, playing in the cup games, having Havertz, and there's still other options. But yeah, my dream forward line of Weghorst and Broja for Chelsea one day. Who knows?
Not sure about that, mate. Anyway, the last one, I just want to round things off. Christian Eriksen, obviously amazing to see him back playing now. And he's back playing well as well. And I think the fact that he's now getting starts at Brentford means that he's somebody we might want to consider. I think it's 5.5 in the game. He's on set pieces. That's the first thing we've seen straight away. Brentford goal at the weekend came from one of his corners. It was flicked on, so it didn't count as an assist, but it was nodded in at the far post by Tony. And we're going to see Eriksen on every corner, every free kick. He'll be scoring them. He'll be assisting them. He's going to be the playmaker. He'll be the reason that Brentford make sure they stay in the Premier League. He hasn't got the points yet over his first 2 games, but don't worry about that. I'm not sure too many people will have him in their teams yet. It's one that we need to start considering, start looking at Brentford's fixtures. This is the first step back for him. He needs to understand how his own career is going to shape up from here. And he'll want to prove before the end of the season to himself, as much as anything, that I've still got a lot to give and get that buzz back. And when he scores that first goal, he'll be happy. And I think a few FPLers will be happy too if they've managed to stick him in there.
He's such a favourite, like even of the opponents of the crowd, like seeing Brandon Williams have a little tussle with him and then realise it was Eriksen was just so brilliant. It was a lovely moment, as FPL River says, on the same wavelength there.
It really was, yeah.
And Brentford have got to make the most of him. Like, sure, he'll probably keep them up, but Brentford know they're very unlikely to have Christian Eriksen next season. Like, if they keep him next year, I'll be very surprised. But make the most of it because he's an absolute class player. Okay, let's move on now. We've had a little bit of Dean's Notebook, but I've done quite a lot of eye test scouting at the weekend, and there's 3 players that play in that blank game week 30 that we've just got to have our eyes on. Otherwise, we're going to have 4 or 5 players. So the transfers we're making in now has to be players are playing in blank game week 30. And I've got 3 players in my eye test section that I want to bring you up to speed on. So let's have a look at my eye test. Yes, guys, before we get to my eye test, hopefully you can like the channel. If you get to, I don't know, what should we say? Let's get to 30 likes if we can, right, before the end. Because if we get to 30 likes, again, I've got another piece of artwork I want to show you.
Look at the gallery out there.
Yeah, I know. But I am looking to redecorate. Yeah, but I've got something here, and it's a piece of artwork from a player that we've been talking about very recently, and it is awesome. And I really want to show you it. So get to 30 likes, and we can do that. But look, three players that I've seen have really caught the eye this weekend. One we've talked about a little bit already, and that is Saka. Like, he is the main man in the Arsenal attack. And it feels like he has been for a couple of seasons. Like, I can't believe his value in FPL. He is so good and so reliable. He's got more FPL points this season. Bear in mind, he's 6.5 million. He's outscored the likes of Sterling, Foden, Mahrez, De Bruyne, and Gundogan. The big Man City 5, Saka at 6.5 million has outscored them. Like, that is ridiculous. And he's got a double game week. Leicester and Liverpool doesn't sound great, but you still think Liverpool will score in both those games. And when they score, he is involved. And then he plays Aston Villa in the blank. So moving forward, you look at Arsenal's fixtures, something to play for. I'm always wary of teams that are kind of mid-table at this point in the season, that aren't going to get European football, that are definitely not going to go down. You question their motivation, perhaps not yet, but you question their motivation with 5-6 games to go, and we're not too far off that. And Arsenal have got a couple of blanks still to be rescheduled. So again, they're going to get a couple of double game weeks extra as well. So Saka's definitely one I've got if I didn't own, I would be looking to bring in. Dean, is Saka's one you benched last time out? Did you own Saka? I can't remember.
No, I don't own Saka.
You don't own Saka?
I don't own him, no. But look, we were talking about Saka today and on my podcast, and I think Saka might be the most enjoyable player to watch in the Premier League. He's unbelievable. Like, he's so fun on the ball, and he's always got a smile on his face. He seems such a nice lad. I'm so pleased he's bounced back from what happened to him in the Euros. You know, moments like that define you, and it's defined Saka because he's bounced back and he's shown he's got character. He's absolutely superb, and like you say, he is consistent and he's an absolute bargain. What do you reckon his price will be next season?
It's funny because they don't tend to increase them massively, even if they've had an absolutely worldy season. So at the moment, like 6.5, I don't think they can go above 7.5. But I mean, he's performing like a 9 million asset. But yeah, I think we'll see him at 7 or 7.5, which will be a bargain next year as well.
It'll still be a bargain. Like, you know, Arsenal might be a Champions League team. They might strengthen this squad. They might sign an elite striker. There's loads of ways that this team could improve. And yeah, he seems like somebody that we're all going to have on our radar as a must-have going forward. I need to find a way to get him in, don't I?
Yeah, Mohamed Foden and Saka. I mean, Foden or Saka? I mean, they're two different players, but for FPL, I would say Saka, and that's strange because Foden plays number 9 for the team that score the most goals in the league.
Yeah,
but he doesn't seem to be the best FPL asset, and this is from someone that's owned Foden from game week 7 all the way through to the weekend when I sold him, game week 27. So I love Foden in FPL because in theory, Man City number 9, out of position, still quite affordable. But we just haven't seen it. And with the Champions League, I think we'll see a bit of rotation.
That's the problem, isn't it? That Saka's going to play every single game, probably every minute of every game. Foden won't from here. And that's the risk that you're taking. And you're always going to have that stress building up to kickoff as to whether he's actually in the lineup. Whereas Saka, unless he picks up an illness in the hours before kickoff, you're pretty safe.
Yeah. FPL River said about Martinelli, and it's a good point. Like, Martinelli, he is another one who's going to have a big price rise. I think he's around 5.5 million. So you save $1 million. Look, if you can stretch to Saka, you just try and make it happen. But if you really can't FPL River, I don't think he's a bad option at all. Like, covering someone's points it's always hard to call. He's a cheaper version for a reason, but I think he's still a very good option. So yeah, Martinelli's not a bad pick at all. And Odegaard's even coming into the conversation now as well. But let's move on to another team that surprised me this weekend. And when I say surprised me, they really surprised me. Like, when I saw Aston Villa Southampton and saw Villa's form having lost to Brighton and Southampton's form having just keep winning games, I was willing to captain Breuer. I was so close to doing it if I didn't buy Havertz. And that's because I just thought Villa were going to get absolutely trounced. But Coutinho stepped up, and he stepped up big. And we know there's a player there, but I just looked at Coutinho and thought the players around you aren't delivering. Can you step up? And I think we'll see it. And I think it will be isolated with Coutinho. He's not going to do that every week. But when he does feel like it's his game, he could have had a hat-trick. He smashed it in FPL with assists and goals, or a goal. But it looks like that formation there at Villa, if they're going to continue with Ings and Watkins and not play 2 number 10s in Buendia and Coutinho, that's really going to suit Coutinho. And he just looked like a man on fire. And Gerrard's post-match interview was obviously speaking really highly of him. We know what he thinks of him, but he's the main man at that club. And when the fixtures are good, Coutinho's a great option. He plays in blank game week 30.
Yeah, totally. I mean, obviously, we picked out people to avoid, and I was like, be wary of Coutinho. And look, I said, I think over this, what can you expect of Coutinho over this double game week? I said, I think you can expect a goal and an assist. Anything on top of that, you're hoping for, because what Coutinho we'd seen up to that point was flashes. We'd seen moments. We've seen that he's obviously the best player that they've got, but we hadn't seen that he was going to score more than a goal a game. We haven't seen that he's going to weigh in with too much more than that, especially back to back. But we'll see. We've obviously got Leeds away on Thursday, and it's a big fixture for Villa to build on the back of that, but also for Coutinho to do the same. Somebody asked me earlier today too, like, is Coutinho going to become the Jack Grealish of this team? Is that the potential that he has here? Like, is he just going to run things? And I think Villa fans, if you gave them the choice, they'd still rather have Jack Grealish than Coutinho. But let's see what Coutinho can do from here to the end of the season. And ultimately, if he can find a place that feels like home, I think he'll want to come back next season.
Yeah, I think you're right. And they're willing to pay his wages. They can afford him. Okay, next up, I'm going to just give you, great point, Absim. Coutinho's doing well because of Watkins and Ings. It helps having 2 good forwards.
Yeah, but they're doing well. You know, it works the other way as well. And I think that they love the idea of him feeding them. So I think he's found his 3 there. And I do wonder what it means for, you know, those other players at Aston Villa, Buendia, Bailey,
Traore,
Traore. Like there's a few there where you're like, I'm not sure you're all going to survive this summer.
Yeah, Nitesh is asking who'll be the better captain choice for next week. Saka obviously has a double, and we're speaking very highly of him, but Salah too. Arsenal do have both home games, but they're tricky. Liverpool go to Brighton, which is a brilliant fixture for Liverpool. Look, I'm likely going to be using my triple captaincy, and you find out on Friday's stream, guys. Friday at 7 p.m, I'll have my team reveal, so do join us for that. But I'm very likely going to be activating a chip there, and that chip is for Mo Salah, and he's the one player in this game I promised myself I will use triple captaincy on. I missed the boat a few weeks ago because I was on a bench boost. I should have triple captained him then. It's time to triple captain Salah again. So, of course, my advice would be just for guys going with the armband, you go Salah over Saka. It's a double game week and it's Salah. He's not been flying, but he doesn't need to be. It's Salah. He just finds a way of getting points.
Yeah, absolutely that. Yeah, I mean, I've got my bench boost in my pocket still, and I'll probably activate it for that, just to make sure I've got all those Liverpool 3 in there, as well as bringing in another sub. And I've got Calvert-Lewin. I think he's got a double as well.
Yeah,
next
he's got
week,
a nice double as well.
He's got a nice 2 homes, and it's very important games for Everton. So Everton actually one to look out for going forward next week as well, just because they got Wolves and Newcastle back to back, both at Goodison, and they need to win both those games to stay in the Premier League, really. So could be really key players like Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison to have.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. My plan was always to bring in an Everton attacker this week. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, but it might have to be Gordon. But even so, my eyes will be watching him tonight, 8 o'clock. My final tip for eye test, just briefly, I'll run through this one, is someone you're not going to expect. Like he plays in a team that have been conceding loads of goals. He's a defender. He's 3.8 million. Any guesses in the chat who I'm talking about? A 3.8 million defender who I'm genuinely looking to bring in. First person in the chat that gets it right will call it out. So he plays for a team that have kept 2 clean sheets in the last couple against Burnley and Leeds. And because he's 3.8 million, I'm looking at defenders that I can actually, Desira's got it. Amati. So I'm looking at defenders that can just help my squad. So Bauer's got it as well. And I know I need some players on the bench that can come in and play when I need them to. And Leicester have the best game week 30 fixture of all the obvious teams you might want to identify. They play Brentford. And at 3.8 million, Amati looks like he's going to keep starting games. Like Evans isn't coming back anytime soon. He's above Vestergaard in the pecking order, which we didn't think we would see. Like Vestergaard is benched and they spent a bit of money on him.
Yeah.
Fofana's going to be out all season. So I think Amati's should be nailed, unless Johnny Evans comes back sooner rather than later. Amati's pretty nailed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Evans obviously is the best guy they've got to bring back in. But you're right, Vestergaard. I mean, that was a big investment that hasn't paid off. Not often that Everton and Leicester make mistakes.
Yeah.
But Vestergaard does look like one that they might regret. It's a weird window they had, and him and Samare. But yeah, Amate, the fact that he started that game suggests to me that he is a go-to player now for Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah, I think so. Guys, we'll rattle through some questions. Mark Mood has said, triple captain Salah or Kane in 29. Look, if Harry Kane goes and scores a hat-trick tonight, look, maybe you change your mind. But I trust that Liverpool attack way more than I trust any attack in the league, I think. Like, the expected goals for Liverpool is just sky high. It's above all other teams. And I know Salah didn't look great last time out. See how he plays on Tuesday night against Inter. But he has a little bit of a rest. It's Tuesday, not a Wednesday game. And it's Brighton away, which is a great game. Brighton have been conceding shots of fun. And sure, the Arsenal game might be a 1-0. It might be tight, but Salah gets points, just finds a way. I'd go Salah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, unless he's got a knock of some sort or anything, like just get on him because the chances are he will deliver, especially if he hasn't the week before. That's the other thing with Salah, isn't it? It's not like he doesn't tend to go through streaks of not scoring. So yeah, got to be Salah.
What's your thoughts on Odegaard? Because we've spoken about Martinelli, and we've spoken about Saka, but Odegaard's still involved, and
I think he's combining brilliantly. I think he's brilliant. When he came in, I wasn't convinced that he was the right guy to help Arsenal step up a level.
Yeah.
I thought it would fall just short. I've been proved wrong on it. I think that Odegaard in recent weeks especially has been unreal. Thought it was a great performance from him at the weekend. And
it was.
Would I be brave enough to pick him and say? I think, yeah, looking at it, like we talked about there, that Arsenal are one of those teams with motivation to actually achieve something this season. They want to finish in the top 4. They've definitely got the potential to do that. Yeah, their attack is as good as anybody's right now, I think. And Odegaard is a big part of that.
Yeah, he's a very similar price point to Martinelli, 5.5 versus 5.3 for Martinelli. So it's a tough one. Luke's asked about Lookman, smart differential pick for the next couple of weeks. How much football will he play? Yeah, now Harvey Barnes is back in, Luke, and he's back in favour. Brendan Rodgers absolutely worships the ground Harvey Barnes walks on. And look, when Barnes is on form, he's first name on the team sheet. Like he absolutely loves him. So sure, he can play both, but definitely will affect Lookman's minutes, knowing there's options in those wide forward slots, especially because we've seen in years gone by, end of last season, he was playing Iheanacho and Vardy. You're not going to get Lookman and Barnes in that team if those two get starts. So I think I'd swerve Lookman as much as I like him.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, thoughts on Vardy too. I mean, do you reckon this is Vardy's like last season where you'd really consider backing him? Like, surely at some point, like the Vardy train has to move on, and
every dog has his day.
Yeah, I think so. And like, obviously, like since he's come back, things have been a bit better. But maybe it wouldn't be a bad time to get on Vardy, because maybe before the end of the season he wants to prove a point one more time.
Yeah. My only problem with Leicester attack, especially for older, more injury-prone players, is how long are they going to be in Europe for? If their European run continues, I'd be slightly worried about Vardy playing twice a week. But Barnes, I wouldn't be.
Yeah, fair enough.
Guys, do please like the channel. I want to show you this. So don't make me wait till Friday's stream to show you this amazing piece of artwork here. And when I say amazing piece of artwork, it's like a $5 on eBay, but stick it in a frame and it looks quite nice. So if you give us a like, if we get to 30 before the end of the stream, I'll show it. If we don't, then maybe you'll have to wait out till Friday. Got one on my word here. So we've got about 10 minutes left of the show, guys. Coming up next, we're going to have a look at FPL Visa. FPL Visa time.
Yeah, interesting part of the week, this one. And obviously we've switched roles here a little bit. And we put forward, basically, if you've never seen it before, there's 9 names here, 3 strikers, 3 midfielders and 3 defenders. And put them forward to Gianni, and he tells whether we should accept, reject, or delay decisions to bring them in. Always interested, and these players are ones that are always on the back of people's minds, some of them right at the front of people's minds at the moment. And we're going to start with strikers, and I think it's a really interesting one, is Ivan Toney. What do you make of him? Obviously on the back of a hat-trick. Is that like peak? Is that as good as it gets, or do we get on him?
I think that's as good as it gets. Like, he was playing Norwich. Yeah, FPL River loves it. Good stuff. Well, let us know what you think. But for me, this is a very easy one. Like, this is reject. And I know that sounds strange off the back of a hat trick, but don't forget 2 of them were pens. He relies on pens, I think, for points. And he relied on playing Norwich, didn't he? Look, it was championship opposition. And we know Tony will score goals in the championship, but he doesn't play championship opposition much in the PL.
That's a really good point. Yeah, they are a championship team, aren't they? And that is his level, I think. He's done really well. He's done great to even break into the Premier League like this. And he's scored a good number of goals, but ultimately you can't expect too many more hat-tricks before the season's out. What about Jamie Vardy? Accept, reject, or delay?
Oh, do you know what? If I could bring Vardy in, I think if I had the funds to get to Vardy and it wasn't at the expense of Harry Kane, if you've already got Kane perhaps, then I would accept Vardy straight away, because I just think for that blank game week 30 against Brentford, he's going to be a massive differential. Also, don't forget, Leicester are owed something ridiculous like 4 fixtures. They are so far behind in terms of games to catch up on. So they're going to get so many double game weeks. But look, for me, it's in my team, it's delay. I want to get to Vardy, but I don't think I can. And it might be a compromise with Barnes. But if you can get there, then I would accept. So I'm somewhere between the two. Mohamed's saying wait for 30. Nitesh is saying reject. But yeah, I like him.
Yeah, that's really interesting. The last striker I want to just talk about here, accept, reject, or delay on Danny Ings. Now, I'm still not sure that he's the future of that football club. I don't think Steven Gerrard is totally sure that Danny Ings is the guy he's going to be relying on next season. But what about for the rest of this season? What do you see for Danny Ings?
It's a tough one. I'm gonna say reject Danny Ings. And look, the new Villa system should suit him. But given the choice, I'd go Watkins in this system and give Ings and Watkins or Villa a couple of poor attacking displays. And the first man out of that team will be Danny Ings. History tells us this with Gerrard. And if he brings Buendia back in and goes for the 2 10s and the one number 9, Watkins is his main man. I've no doubt about that. So for me, it would be reject, because I would worry about minutes. He's only 1 or 2 poor performances each week from being dropped, I find.
Yeah, well, everyone seems to agree with you. Reject, 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 reject for sure. Yeah, seems like you've got that one nailed on, mate. Let's move on to the midfielders. We've already touched on this one, so I'm pretty sure what you're going to say. But Kai Havertz, is he a guy that you would accept, reject, or delay at this point of the season?
Do you know what? He might not have a double in 29. He might not play in the blank, but he's owed fixtures. He's the main man at Chelsea, and he's just flying at the moment. Like, form players, confident players. How often do we talk about confidence with strikers? Well, Havertz, like, he's still a kid. I'm sure he needed that. And those goals were doing the world of confidence. Yeah, except easily for me. He's pretty cheap. When I bought Havertz at the weekend, I hadn't looked at him all season as an FPL option until that 1 week way back when. So I had no idea what he cost. And I thought I'd be paying 8.5, and I was going to get him regardless, going to find a way. When I saw it was like 7.5 million, that's a real steal.
That is unbelievable value for a guy that's leading the line at Chelsea at the moment, isn't it? Yeah, definitely one to accept if you can get him into your side. This one's really interesting because he's a guy that's had a bit of a return to form in the past month or so. Ryan Fraser. What do you think of Ryan Fraser, mate?
Yeah, little pocket rocket. He's turned it on. And Eddie Howe knows the player. I was a bit worried with St. Max coming back in and Murphy was playing well. I thought if Murphy or Fraser drops out, will we see a bit of rotation? But he stuck with them, and St. Max was on the bench at the weekend, and both Murphy and Fraser had very, very good games. But yeah, Fraser's also got a set piece threat as well. So I'll probably delay just because he doesn't play in 30. But if Newcastle are still playing well, flying after 30, I'd bring him in. But yeah, delay for me.
Unbelievable form that Newcastle have shown. Like, to keep up this consistency after the season they'd had is honestly remarkable. The last midfielder, everyone keep your comments coming in, by the way. I see a delay there from a couple of people. Puneet says accept on Fraser as well. Concept says gutted, brought in Willock instead of Fraser. Well, that's unlucky. That's just bad luck. That could have gone the other way and still could. What about Wilf Zaha, mate? A player that... I must have had him in my team 400 times over the years in FPL and given up on him every single one. What do you reckon? Accept, reject, or delay?
Yeah, he got moved back to a midfielder last year, didn't he? I remember we had him as a season as a forward, and it was like, you've moved Wilfred Zaha to a forward position, but you've not moved Salah and Hazard that. he's just a little bit too expensive this year. I mean, he's dropped a bit. He's 6.8. But when I look at that Palace team and realise I can get Elise at 5.4, Elise is equally as threatening at the moment. The only threat Zaha has on top of Elise in terms of output is the penalties. But I would go Elise over Zaha because of price, and I own Elise. But even I'm looking to sell Elise because they don't have... They're somewhere between that stage where I just think they're not going to have a huge amount to play for. And I worry that the motivation might dip, and they don't have many doubles on the horizon, and they don't play in the bank. But for Zaha, I'm going to say reject for that reason.
Yeah, FPL River calls Zaha the biggest troll in FPL, and I have to say, like, he's done me so many times, that guy. I have to agree. Mohammed says Edouard over Zaha with crying emoji. I mean, Edouard, if you're on that boat, jump off of it, because I'm not sure how many minutes we're going to see between now and end of the season. Luke says Zaha scores wonderful goals at times, but inconsistent. And yeah, I agree with that too. Right, let's go on to the defenders. We've got 3 here. Keep your comments coming in, and loving to see if you would accept, reject, or delay. Let's start with Chelsea, man. Antonio Rudiger. I guess, look, always in that side, but I guess Chelsea's fixtures just makes you wonder whether you stick with him.
Yeah, if you're going for one Chelsea defender, you don't at the moment. I think what we've just seen, you don't go Rudiger because of Reece James. But of course, if you're looking to double up and you're a Reece James owner out there, then Rudiger's a lovely option. So I'll sit on the fence and say delay. If you're willing to go double Chelsea, and I don't think that's the worst move in the world, even without the doubles, like they're pretty consistent at the back. But yeah, if it's one or the other, you go Reece James all day long.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. What about over at Arsenal? They've got a side together now that I think Arteta trusts, and a big part of that, I think, is Ben White. Would you accept, reject, or delay, mate?
They've conceded a few sloppy goals recently, Arsenal, and they were doing so well. Like, I'm a Ramsdale owner. I was looking at, if I'm going triple Arsenal, would I prefer to go double defence or double attack? And this time 2 weeks ago, I'd have said double defence. Now I'm saying go double attack if you do, and go Martinelli over a White as your third Arsenal asset, for example. So I'm going to say reject, just because they've been conceding. I mean, Watford could have had 3 or 4 against them. Like, Watford don't score goals against many, and they pulled Arsenal apart at times. So I was really surprised to see that. So yeah, I'm going to reject Ben White. 2 weeks ago, I'd have accepted him.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from with that one. And right, so the last one, a bit of a different one. Jeffrey Schlupp. What were you saying here, mate?
I mean, Vieira loves him. Like, playing in a midfield 3, he seems to have found his position. Like, he's got a bit of freedom there to get forward. We've always known he's got a good left foot. I still don't see him as a brilliant FPL option. Like, I still look at, if he was listed as a defender as he used to be, you go for Schlupp out of position. But he's the same price as Elise. And Elise is just that little bit more involved, that little bit higher up the pitch. So for me, I'd reject him, knowing there's other options in that team.
Yeah, I think you're right too. And yeah, Crystal Palace aren't a team I can trust from here for the rest of the season, I think. Yeah. Cheers for everyone's comments. I mean, as a good array of rejects there. I love to see people getting rejected in this game. Rudiger, reject. James, far better option, says Luke. FPL River says Schlupp, reject. Yeah, I don't think there's too many people rushing to get Schlupp in their team at this point of the season.
Yeah, it would be a real left field punch. You know what? Schlupp is one of those picks that come game week 37, you're going into game week 38, and you know it's the final game week of the season, and you've got to catch a mini league rival, but your teams are so similar, and you need to look a little bit outside the box. Schlupp is one of those picks where you just go punt on the last day of the season. Why not? So maybe he'll get a bit of love on the final day. You never know. What are our thoughts on the VAR decision on Mahrez? They took their time over it. I mean, for me, it looked like he was on. Like, it was the foot of Tellez. I'd love to see them just take arms out the equation and just go foot versus foot.
Exactly the conversation I was having while that dragged on and on. I was like, if this is not given, then I'm honestly giving up on football, and the rules need changing before I come back, because you can't not give that. He's on, his feet are onside, and his arm, just because his arms, who cares where his arms are? He's not about to punch it in, is he? I was so glad in that sense to see that goal given, because it was the right decision.
Yeah, me too. Panda Bear, is Mane a better option for game week 29 than Son? I mean, he's a real differential. My problem with Mane is there's 4 amazing players there for 3 spots, and at some point Mane's going to suffer from rotation because Salah's nailed. So Diaz, Mane, Jota, 3 excellent options for 2 spots. Now, at the moment, Mane's playing 9. Sure, he's playing very well. But at some point, Jota's going to be given game time. So Diaz and Mane might have to rotate a bit. I don't know. He's not guaranteed 2 starts there, Dean.
No, absolutely. I think you're right too. It's so tricky now. Luis Diaz has changed everything in terms of predicting this Liverpool lineup. It was hard enough when we had Jota coming into the equation. We got Firmino, and now we've got Luis Diaz, who actually seems undroppable in that Liverpool team. So I'm not sure where I could go apart from Salah.
Yeah, exactly that. Guys, we've got another couple of minutes left, so get your questions in. We'll get to as many as we can. We're probably not going to get to 30 likes, are we? We're just not going to get there. If we don't get there, 7 p.m. on Friday, and I'll show you that amazing artwork. It sounds like I'm giving it away. I'm not, but maybe I'll put the link on my Twitter. If we get to 30, great. If not, I have no doubt we will when people watch later in the week, and therefore I'll open the stream on Friday with it. But any other questions to get in? FPL Alex the Kid. Good to see you, dude. I don't think we've seen you on this stream before, so welcome to the channel every Monday, Friday at 7. Doherty for the double game week. Now, if he plays well tonight, we might trust that he's going to start both those games, but he's always going to be one poor performance away from being dropped, isn't he, Doherty? Because Conte isn't set on his fullbacks.
He's not, no, and you never know how he's going to react to a performance Conte either, and who he might throw onto the bus for the next game. So, Doherty just not nailed on for me at the moment to be a starter for Tottenham. But as you say, we've got a game in 10 minutes that we can judge him on.
Oh, I love a bit of chip strategy chat from Desiro. 1 free hit left. Is it best to play it in 30 or wait to the other double game weeks? I could play 8 on game week 30. Desire, I'm probably going to have 8 players maximum on 30. And I genuinely think that's all right. Like, if you play your free hit, you get an extra 3 players out. Well, yeah, that's nice. 3 players, and maybe some of your other players will be better. If you wait for a double game week, you might have 13, 14 players normally, but you might turn that into 22. We are going to get a huge double game week in 36, where we might see 8, 10 teams play twice. We're going to get a big double game week in 33. We might see 4, 5, 6 teams play twice. Save it for the doubles because the upside is there, and cover all the main bases if you can. If you need to get extra players in for 30 that you know are also doubling in 29, like Spurs and like Arsenal, don't be afraid to take hits this week to bring in Spurs or Arsenal players, because you get the benefit of them playing twice in 39, and then you also get their appearance in game week 30. So just from appearance points, you've got 2 extra sets of 2 there. That's your 4-point hit covered without any returns. So Arsenal and Spurs for hits this week, if necessary, would be my main tip.
Yeah, sounds good, that.
Panit is asking about Ronaldo. Or Dean, this is one for you. What do we think there?
I mean, you should not be on Ronaldo anymore. Like, just steer clear, because I don't know where this is ending and if it's going to end well or not. I mean, who knows which version of events is right? You know, was Ronaldo left out for tactical reasons, or was he injured? Whatever it was, like, by the time that game kicked off, doesn't seem he was even in the country. So that's not a great sign, is it? Ronaldo should, even if he was injured, you'd have thought of been at the Etihad helping his teammates get through a Manchester derby against a team he was supposedly supposed to join at the start of the season. We've seen him when he wants to be a cheerleader. We've seen him for his country on the sideline acting like a manager. United could have done with that. And the fact that he wasn't even there at the Manchester derby, I don't know, man. I don't like the vibes being given off of Man United at the moment. So I would be steering well away from Ronaldo in FPL.
I'm looking forward to more of that chat on Friday, mate, when we look at our predicted 11s as well, because no doubt your insider info will really help us out there.
I'm going to Man United v Tottenham at the weekend, actually, as well. So I'm very, very interested into what I'm going to be seeing there. I mean, it could be absolute chaos or it could be 0-0. I really don't know what I'm going to be getting myself in for there.
That'll be some atmosphere, mate. I'm very jealous of that.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Guys, that's kind of it from us today. We've said we'd finish before the 8 p.m. kickoff for the Spurs game. We're going to let you go and enjoy that. Before you leave us, though, just give us that thumbs up, give us that like, and look, if you're not subscribing already, then please do. Like, there's a few of you watching. There's 24 of you watching right now. I'm guessing 20 of you are already subscribed, but I'm guessing 4 of you aren't. So hit that button. Join us every Monday. Join us every Friday at 7. But we've been chasing green arrows, and we'll see you next time.